Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 47th day of the Reincarnation. I'm your host with the most, Peter Joshua, and today we're going to be doing Documentary Club, where we watch an awesome, healthy, life-inspiring documentary. Today, we're going with Mike Hanson's recommendation, Forks Over Knives. Let's check it out.
They talk about how people who have animal-based protein diets are a lot higher risk for cancer, where compared to people who have plant-based protein diets have relatively no risk for cancer. Also, they talk about how genes have no effect on cancer. There's a plethora of helpful information in this documentary, like how our stomachs have these sensors, and on a whole foods plants diet, you'll get fuller a lot faster and won't need to overeat. Where if you're on a more traditional Western diet, eating a lot more animal-based protein like meat and dairy, never being as satisfied and a lot more prone to overeat. And they have a lot of very intelligent doctors, like this one's explaining how people need to overeat just to feel satisfied because their food that they're eating is so malnutritioned.
A lot of the information in this documentary comes from the studies collected from these two doctors, and they're both super beasts that are super proactive about eating whole food, plant-based diets, and staying as far away as possible from animal-based proteins like meat and dairy. And one of them's even from Cleveland and works at the Cleveland Clinic, which is awesome because it's right next to me, and who doesn't love the Cleveland Clinic? And there's a lot of talk about just, really all the reversing effects that eating a mainly plant-based diet can do, like how they were able to reverse heart disease in a lot of people, and there was even pictures through x-rays for proof. And then there was talking about how they reverse diabetes from eating plant-based diets and getting properly nutrition and just getting all that nasty animal-based protein. And they just talk about how you should never eat anything that has a mom and a dad and that hops, crawls, or whatever. And I really like that line. And I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna eat meat. Don't get me wrong. I might, I'm definitely gonna eat a little bit of meat, at some point in my life. But am I gonna eat any type of, any almost even close to what I was eating? Definitely not. I am going. When I start eating in less than 2 weeks, we only have 13 more days before your boy's eating again. And when those 13 days pass, I am not going to be having a mainly animal meat protein, dairy diet. I'm going to have maybe 1-2% of that in my diet. I want to be sticking to heavy-based whole food, plant-based diet with a lot of plant-based protein and a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits, a lot of grains, and, just keeping it real. All right, America, let's get real. Forks Over Knives is one of the best documentaries of all time, and it could save your life, especially if you're at risk for heart disease, cancer, or maybe even diabetes. And above all else, I just recommend that you guys go see it because I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 levels of Beastmaster. That's my ranking system, and it's just thebombdiggity.com. You just can't mess this one up, guys. And if you don't go see it, you're committing internet, suicide, and it's the worst. So do yourself a favor, close this video. I don't even know why you're watching this video anymore. And go check out Forks Over Knives. It's that easy. Save your life. And you know what else? While you're at it, show me some love. Maybe hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and tell your friends. And juice on. Damn it. One last thing. Make sure to recommend a documentary that we haven't reviewed yet if you want to be in the next documentary club. Peace out.